Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I would like to go over the Federal Reserve rate that took place yesterday. So, just for the ones that don't know, the Federal Reserve rate was reduced by a quarter point. So, the range now for the Federal Reserve is 4.25 to 4.5, roughly. All right. So, what does that mean? Well, there's a short term and a long term for markets. The market sold off yesterday by a lot. The current market, as of this live stream here, the S&P 500 is at 5,885. The VIX is at 2369. The Euro USD is at 1.036. Oil is at 69.16 dollars a barrel. BITO, which is the ETF for Bitcoin, is at 24.67, and USD to the Japanese yen is at 157.34. So I'm gonna go over each one of these markets here and give you my opinion here. Now again, the Federal Reserve lowered rates by a quarter point yesterday. All right. So in the announcement, they also reduced the number of projected cuts for next year. The original projection was 4 cuts for next year. They brought that down to 2 cuts next year, and that's the reason why the institutional investors decided to close positions in the equity market. Now, again, the equity market for the S&P 500 is trading at 5,886. We were close to 6,100 before the Fed announcement. I still have a target between 5,800 for year end to 6,000. I suspect that this will mean revert before year end to above 5,900. All right. So most likely it will close out at about 5,900, maybe 5,950. I don't suspect that this is going to be a continued sell-off. So if people have cash on hand, it may make sense to actually try to deploy some cash into the market. Now, when the Federal Reserve made their announcement, the VIX did climb up to about 27 on the VIX index, which is relatively high, while previous days it was trading in the range of 13, 14, something like that. So there's elevated risk. But I still have a target for the equity market to close out year end anywhere between 5,800 and 6,000. I've been saying that for months, so it's not like I'm changing, anything big drastically. I don't believe that this thing is going to be a big sell-off, in the near term, because the institutional investors have to present a higher return for this year, so they can go to clients next year to show them that they had such a high return in the previous year, as a selling point. So the market isn't going to fall that much farther. The euro, unless some crazy thing happens like World War III, or alien invasion, who knows. The euro USD, when the Federal Reserve did lower the rate, that means that when you lower the rate, you are actually putting money into the market. The Federal Reserve is weakening the dollar. They're putting more money into the market. But their forward guidance was tighter, meaning that they were going to cut less. So that was more of a variable to strengthen the dollar. If they were still going to have the 4 cuts next year, and they did the quarter point, the dollar most likely would have weakened. All right. But because they had kind of a hawkish stance for forward guidance in 2025 by cutting from 4 cuts to 2 cuts, that actually strengthened the dollar. So the dollar went from about 1.05 to the, right, for euro to USD pair trade to 1.03. Big change, all right? So dollar is strengthening, and when you have a strengthening of the dollar, assuming supply and demand dynamics don't change for oil, a stronger dollar means weaker price per barrel. So oil, WTI, went down. The futures market for oil went down because dollar strengthened. So oil was trading in I think just above 70. Now it's trading at 69 right now. So oil's a little down relative to a couple trading days ago. Bitcoin, all right, what's going on with Bitcoin? Bitcoin, last I looked, was below 100,000. Now, I've been looking at the ETF, BITO, which is the long version of the ETF for Bitcoin, all right? Before the Fed announcement, it was trading around, I think around 27, 26, 27, something like that. And because the dollar is strengthening, because of this forward guidance, a tightening of the forward guidance, Bitcoin went down, all right? Because dollar strengthening, Bitcoin is going to weaken, all right? And then the yen is weakening further relative to the USD. So yen to the dollar is 157 yen. So you have the yen weakening because the USD is strengthening, the euro is weakening because of the USD is strengthening, oil is going down because of the strengthening of the dollar, and because the forward guidance was tighter, was more hawkish, equity markets sold off. It's not going to be this is a short-term thing. This is going to go up. I suspect that we're going to see an S&P 500 in the 5,900 range. That's my gut feeling on this. VIX did peak in around 27. Now it's trading at around 23, so there's a little bit less risk. So with that, just keep in mind that the Federal Reserve's move, even though it was weakening of the dollar at the short term because of the cut, it was actually more of a move with the hawkish stance for 2025. The reason for that hawkish stance is that they're concerned about tariffs and how it may actually be inflationary. So they're kind of like on pause here. They're kind of waiting to see how it emerges during that transition for the Trump administration. Before I go into the dynamics of what I think the Federal Reserve is doing, and a little bit of the way the way the cuts are working, I want to plug some products here. It's through purchasing the products on my store and donating and also being a paid member on Patreon that allows me to do this. Now, if you purchase the products on my store and you follow the protocol that I do, you're going to improve your health. You're going to slow down the aging process. You're going to improve your immune system, and you're going to improve your other body systems like your cardiovascular system or your liver or your neural system or your digestive system. So there's ways to slow down the aging process, and not just slow down the aging process, to have more vitality, to have more longevity, to have a more robust life, bone structure and muscle structure. So if you just follow what I'm doing, you will fare pretty good here. So I have a new product on the store, Gladiator Barley. All right, this is a powder. You just mix it with food or with filtered water or use a smoothie. And how this works is it reduces inflammation, but it also helps to soak up free radicals because it has superoxide dismutase. In addition, this is going to help you to build up muscle. All right. So this is a great way. It's a protein, right? So you just take some scoops and put it into your smoothie, or I put it into hummus, and you will be able to maintain strength and musculature. But it also reduces inflammation, and it soaks up free radicals because it says superoxide dismutase. So this is a very, very good product. In addition, I have tested this on my pet, all right, and it does work, all right. So you can do one scoop for your I did it on my dog, all right. So this is for humans and for pets, all right. It will work. So what you do with the dog is you just take a scoop, right, and mix it with their food, right. And what will happen is that you're going to notice that the pet is going to have a little bit more energy. So this is really good for like older pets, right? But if you have a younger pet, it's good because you're soaking up those free radicals when they're younger, right? A lot of people don't realize a big part of a dog's health or a cat's health is based on what you feed it every day. If you keep on feeding it canned food or processed food, that's terrible. So what you want to do is you want to feed your pets homemade real food, all right, that they like. But on top of it, if you give them antioxidants, they will age slower. Now you'll notice the change in the aging process of a pet because cats and dogs, especially dogs, will age quicker than a human. So you'll see the benefits of what I'm talking about if you give them an anti-aging protocol. Now, part of that anti-aging protocol to a pet would be give them a little bit of structural nanosilver liquid in their food. Since you typically feed a pet like twice a day, right? You can give them a little bit of iodine, like 1 or 2 drops of iodine. That will help with their thyroid and their thyroid hormone. And the other thing is give them things like NMN or NAD plus to boost up energy levels, and antioxidants like C60. You can give them a few drops of C60, and like half a teaspoon of C60. So that's more than a few drops, but about a half a teaspoon or a quarter teaspoon, depending on the size of the pet, and this superoxide dismutase from the gladiator barley or the heirloom barley. And what you'll notice is that the pet will have more energy. But not just that, you'll notice that the hair on the pet is improved. If you have a pet that has joint problems, you'll notice that the joint problems will seem to be mitigated because it's reducing inflammation. So the things that I'm talking about, you can experiment and see how this applies to your pet, and you'll notice that you're going to see improvements in a cat or a dog if you follow what I'm doing here. Now we age slower because our lifespan is longer typically for a human than for a pet. You'll see a dog oxidize faster than a human, but you can slow down the oxidation and apply this on your pet. It works, So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the gladiator barley. Take a few scoops of this, mix it in your food or with filtered water or a smoothie. Take it every day. It's a great way to bring down inflammation, soak up those free radicals, and strengthen your musculature. Now, you can get the gladiator version or the heirloom barley version, right? Both of them have superoxide dismutase. Both of them reduce inflammation. The heirloom barley is more of a detox, while the Gladiator barley is more for building up or maintaining muscle. All right? Use it the same way, and you can give it to your pet if you want. Boomer Boost. This is a great way. It's a powder. Mix it with your food or with a smoothie or with just filtered water, and you get 68 nutrients. It has a great, I don't have time to go over it, but it has a great profile for the nutrients. You can just go on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take a look at the label, but you get some serious nutrients in here. And take this every day. It's a great way to fuel your body with the nutrients it needs, and it's just like a meal. And what's great about it, because this has protein in it, you mix these two together, and this is your breakfast, all right? Or your lunch, or whatever. Or your workout. If you work out and you need, you fuel your body before your workout, this is a great way to do it. It's much healthier doing it this way than taking that whey protein junk. So please go to my store, get the Boomer Boost. Great way to get some nutrients, and you can use this as a meal for breakfast or for lunch. You can mix it together and get additional benefits by mixing it with the barley. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. If you can buy them separately, but you can also buy my longevity boost box and you get a discount. Again, all my products, you can just apply a discount 5, all caps, discount, and the number 5, and you get $5 off in addition to any order. Structural Nano Silver Gel. Great way. It's a dual purpose product to help heal your skin, speed up the healing process of a cut. Great way to neutralize pathogens. Put it on your hands, around your nose, around your eyes, around your ears, around your nose. Lightly coat your nostrils. It's a dual purpose product. It's a skincare. You can put it on your skin regularly, and you'll notice that your skin is clearer and tighter. Right? Great way to put it on at night and then exfoliate in the morning. So this is a dual purpose product that you should take a look at. You should have it in your house just in case you need it, especially during the cold season. And the same thing here. This is in a tube form. You apply it the same way. A structural nanosilver toothpaste. This is the best toothpaste you can get. All right, whitens your teeth, freshens your breath, neutralizes pathogens, maintains a really healthy gum line, and with good oral hygiene, you're going to improve your cardiovascular health. Why? With bad oral hygiene, what will happen is you can get bacteria in your bloodstream, and then when that happens, you can cause problems with your valve and your heart. You don't want that. All right? People that get older, they have stenosis or prolapse or regurgitation because of an infected and weakened valve. So please go to the store, get the toothpaste. This is a very high quality toothpaste, much better than anything you're going to get anywhere else. So please go to the store, get a few tubes of toothpaste from the-studio-reykjavik.com. Help support my work and support your health. All right? And lastly, before I continue on, the Federal Reserve, get the structural nanosilver soaps that I have. The structural nanosilver soaps I have are in peppermint, charcoal tea tree, and oatmeal spice. Okay? These are very high quality soaps. All right? Great for a present if you're looking to, get a stocking stuffer. So, but not just that, get a couple bars for your household, use it regularly, and you're gonna be impressed with the high quality that they are. So, and we're in the cold season, all right? And it's really important to take lozenges if you need them, all right? So I have three different types. I have a cherry drop version, I have a honey and lemon version, and a blueberry. So get a couple bags of this. It's in a 100 count, very high quality, great for the cold season. All right, so I wanted to talk about the Federal Reserve. and how the Federal Reserve, uh, uh, can perturbate markets. So when the Federal Reserve cuts a rate, all right, a lot of things are happening that the average person may not kind of understand. All right. First thing is that when they cut the rate, it means that loans will go down, the rate of the loan will go down, interest payments can go down, right? So the average citizen, when they hear like rate cut, oh yeah, great. Some people may be on the fence of doing a refi on their mortgage or whatever, and they're waiting for the rate to go down. The problem is that how it works is the Federal Reserve, and I'm simplifying this because it's a lot more complicated because funding mechanisms at the Federal Reserve are multifaceted. But in general, when they cut a rate, what they're doing is that they are putting money into the market. Now, how do they do that? How do they put money into the market? The Treasury Department sells bonds to fund its operations, right? And you have the open market buying those bonds, all right? The Federal Reserve will go in and say, you know what? I want to bring down the rate, and their back operations will figure out, okay, how many bonds do we need to buy to infuse a certain amount of liquidity into the market that would be equal to bringing down a quarter point in the federal funds rate. Because if you buy a bond, if you have a big buyer of bonds, right, the price of the bonds will go up. The yield will go down. If you have a big seller of bonds, it's the opposite that happens. The price goes down, the yield goes up. It's inversely related. So the Federal Reserve is a big buyer or a big seller. So they go to the banks and go, I want some bonds because I'm lowering the rate. So the banks that are part of the consortium will sell bonds to the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve will lower the rate. Now, people are saying, great. They don't realize that that's inflationary. So there's another part to this equation. When should the Federal Reserve lower rates? Now, when you use standard economic theory, not neo-economic theory, all right, but just standard economic theory, classic economic theory, it's about the unemployment rate and the inflation rate. Now, there are two types of inflation. They're mainly, all right, I'm in broad brush here. There's headline inflation, and there is core inflation. Headline inflation is what people actually see. All right? All the inputs that go into the cost of something, including food and energy. Core inflation means everything that goes into a service or a product except food and energy. Excludes food and energy. So core inflation excludes food and energy, and headline encompasses everything. Okay? Well, there is a target rate of 2%. That is basically standard economic theory. Now, there is a group of economists out there and a group of politicians that wants to raise the benchmark of the inflationary target. So every time that it hits that target, the Federal Reserve could stop raising rates. Now, if you're the federal government and you need to finance your operations through bond issuance, you can't have a high rate because the interest payments are too high. So there's a political reason to move the interest rate up, target for not interest rate, inflation rate, target up. There's a political reason for that, right? If the inflation target's raised, when inflation is at 3% and your target's at 2, you would raise rates. Well, the government doesn't want that, right? So if you just raise your target to 3 and the inflation's at 3, then you're not going to raise rates. So there is a political reason to try to get the Federal Reserve to raise the rates. I'm against that. 2% seems historically to be a very good target to try to achieve long term. If you're running above 2%, then there are inflationary pressures that are happening. Now, inflationary pressures can happen because of food, energy, or other. And a big part of other is the cost of labor. This is the reason why they look at core and headline. Because if you look at the headline and you subtract the core, the end result is energy and food increase. Now, how do you get energy and food increase? Inflation through food and energy. Maybe a bad crop yield for that year. So you have a certain demand and you have a poor supply and the food costs go up. Perfect example is what's going on with the eggs because of the avian flu, right? Now, with energy, if there is some sort of reduction, let's say that there is a reduction of supply, right, because of an oil field is blown up or whatever, right? Your demand is the same, is inelastic. The supply is reduced, so the cost will go up. All right, so there's lots of ways that inflation can rear its head. Supply and demand dynamics, but also the cost of labor. All right, with 2% target, that historically has been pretty good for developed nations. But you got politicians that are going, nah, we want to raise it to 3, right? So when it gets triggered, the Federal Reserve doesn't raise the rate, it just keeps it low. Well, what happens is that it keeps on funding money into the system. It's fueling dollars into the system. And that can be inflationary. Not always, but it can be inflationary. Depends on what's happening. So, you also have another target, and that's the unemployment rate. And the natural unemployment rate is 5%, using classic economic theory of developed nations. So 2% and 5%. 2% inflation and 5% unemployment. If you're below 5% unemployment, that means your economy, and it's happening quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter, your economy's probably too hot. But you also have to keep it in mind at the inflation rate. Well, what's the inflation rate going? If the inflation rate is above 2%, and your unemployment is below 5, you have too hot of an economy and you have to raise rates. Or at the very least, keep rates steady. And that's what we have right now. The Federal Reserve's data is showing that we're above the 2% target. We're at about 2.7, I believe it is, for inflation. And we're at 4.2% or so for unemployment. Now, we're below the 5, and we're above the 2%. Why would you cut rates? And then they do forward guidance saying, oh, Trump's tariff policy may be inflationary. What's inflationary is cutting the rate when you have below natural unemployment and you have targeted inflation higher than you have your target at 2, but inflation's coming above your target. That's inflationary. So the Federal Reserve should have stayed neutral, not changed, or raised rates, not lower rates. So what's going to happen is that this mismanagement of the Federal Reserve, they're going to blame on Trump. They're causing an inflationary pressure, and then they're going to try to blame the inflationary pressure that the Federal Reserve has created because it didn't raise rates, because unemployment's too below the natural unemployment rate. 4.2 is less than 5, and the inflation is above 2%. It's around 2. I think it's 2.7. Maybe it's 2.5. It doesn't matter. It's above. So because it's above, both of those conditions, when together, is inflationary. So the Federal Reserve, by lowering rates, has increased the chances of an inflationary condition that's going into next year. And so when Trump starts to create these negotiating deals with tariffs, the Federal Reserve is going to blame Trump and not look in the mirror and actually blame themselves. Now, who is telling you this? Nobody. Nobody. Because everyone keeps on thinking that lower rates is better. No. Lower rates is not better. It depends on the condition. Is antibiotics good for you? Depends. Do you need it or not? What is the condition? What's the context? That's what really needs to be had. When you have inflation, having a higher rate's better, because what happens is it tries to bring down that inflation rate faster, so it doesn't create stickiness with the price. The Federal Reserve fucked up when Janet Yellen said it's transitory and they didn't do anything. Now we have sticky pricing in certain goods and services. The Federal Reserve should have done shock therapy and raised the rate, not a quarter point or a half point. They should have raised 2 or 3 points and scare the system. They didn't do that. They couldn't do that because the politics, because we keep on issuing bonds to fund our government, it's much too high for the interest payment if the Federal Reserve is going to do shock therapy. So what we're going to do is constantly, slowly bake inflation into our economy. Now, I'm not the only one that says this. Ron Paul says this too, the senior. But it's crazy what's going on. The Federal Reserve screwed up. They should have not lowered the rate. It's inflationary. It's inflationary. We have too many people employed with a 4.2% unemployment rate. With it, when you look at inflation is above 2%. If it was 4.2 and inflation was at 2% or just like 1.9 or 1.8, then I would say it's not too hot. The economy's not too hot. But when you have above 2% and below 5%, that's too hot. And when it's too hot, you need to raise rates. Or at the very least, hold the rate. You don't cut it. So it was a political move that was going on. Really bad. And the thing is that the market loves the money. It loves the free money. The banks love to borrow money at a low rate and jack it up at a high rate. Why do you think that they don't want to give you a loan for a house or even a car? They prefer to give you a credit card. Why? Because they borrow at the federal funds rate, which is anywhere from now, because of the quarter point, when they lower the rate, it's in a range. So it's around 4.25 to 4.5. So a bank is going to borrow from the Federal Reserve 4.25 to about 4.5. And they're going to charge you 10, 12, 17, 20% interest on a credit card. Now do you know why the system is fucked up? The bread and butter for banks isn't giving you a home loan. It's issuing credit cards because the margin is so high, even if people default. So the market had a shit fit when the Federal Reserve said, we got to be hawkish because we're afraid of the inflationary pressure of tariffs with the new administration that's coming in. Because that free money isn't there to flow it into the equity market. So the traders just decided to sell. But that's a short-term thing. Equities are going to continue to go up. As I'm speaking, it's now 5,890. We may tomorrow see above 5,900. So we'll see. But I think it's really important for just the average public, Joe Public, to realize that unemployment rate can't be zero. It's not healthy. And classic economics for developed nations, which we are, is 5%. If you run below that, it's a little too hot. If you run above that, it's too recessionary. But you also have to have it in the context of what the inflation is during that unemployment rate. And a little bit before and a little after, because there could be lagged effects that are taking place. So if the unemployment rate is low, but the inflation is high, you have a hot economy, and hot economies are inflationary. And that's usually because the Federal Reserve pumped too much money into the system. There's other aspects to it where the economy is just not as productive. So you have an inflationary pressure. The cost of goods and services are higher because people are less productive. So them changing the target is strange. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about Bitcoin and the Federal Reserve, because there's some interesting things that are going on with that. But before I do that, please help support my work. I give you a lot of really cool information that you don't get in other places and give you a unique perspective. Please help support my work by going to the store and getting the great products that I have. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, click the link in the description of this video and all my videos, and get the great deodorants that I have on the store. I partnered up with Rainbow Herbals, and we created these great deodorants. This is peppermint, lavender, and tea tree, and this one is citrus. These are made from essential oils from the Himalayas, and it's a dual-purpose product. You use it as a deodorant. It's for males and females, and it will help to detoxify your body slowly. This is made from natural ingredients, high-quality natural ingredients, way better than you're going to get at other places. So go to my store and get the deodorants. Help support Rainbow Herbals and my website. I also carry great supplements that I use to boost up my immune system, to slow down the aging process, and to have more longevity. It's really important to boost up your immune system, especially since we went through the crisis of 2020. A great way to do that is to take the lignans. This is a powder. You mix it with filtered water or mix it with food, and this will help to bring down inflammation. It's an antioxidant, and it also helps with your endocrine system. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Vitamin B complex, really important for mitochondrial health, for cellular metabolism, and to protect your neurons. When you get older, you're going to need to take vitamin B to have neural protection. Please go to my store, get the vitamin B complex. Good night formula. People are not getting enough sleep. It's time to get some sleep. Take the good night formula. It has tryptophan, melatonin in it, and a few other ingredients that you can read on the website. But the thing is that taking good night formula will get you into the 3 cycles of REM sleep that you need to consolidate memory, to detoxify your central nervous system, and to be well rested. Really important. Chronic sleep deprivation can lead to early onset of dementia. Myotrol, great way to build muscle. You need to do that when you're older, so take Myotrol. This will also improve the health of your mitochondria so you have more energy. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Take Myotrol every day. Do a little bit of resistance training, and you'll be gaining muscle quicker and maintaining muscle. If you work out regularly, right, and you're an avid athlete or amateur athlete, taking Myotrol is a great way to improve your muscles and for recovery. So go to my store and get the Myotrol. Olive leaf extract, dual purpose product. How does it work? Brings down inflammation. It also, so that helps with the immune system, but it also helps with the cardiovascular system. When you bring down inflammation, that reduces the chances of building up plaque, and olive leaf extract helps to bring down LDL levels and helps to increase your HDL levels, so it improves your total cholesterol. Really important. And digestive enzyme complex. Break down carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. Reduce the stress on your pancreas. You're going to need that when you get older. All right. In addition, if you work out and you're younger, to be able to fuel your body, after that workout, to recover better, taking digestive enzyme complex is going to help you do that. But if you're older, better start taking digestive enzyme complex, because people that are older don't have as good of a pancreas. Doesn't matter who you are. Period. All right. So I wanted to expound on the Federal Reserve and Bitcoin. All right. Chairman Powell was asked during the Q&A after the Fed announcement yesterday about will the Federal Reserve start buying assets of Bitcoin. Now you got to remember, the Federal Reserve controls rates, but they also do operations in the financial markets, primarily in like currency or the treasury market, right? But there's some talk that maybe the Federal Reserve should be getting into purchasing Bitcoin to stabilize the fluctuation of Bitcoin. Now, I think what I'm going to say has some unique perspectives on this. Now, you may agree with me, you may not, all right? I am against the Federal Reserve getting into purchasing Bitcoin. Why? Because I don't believe that Bitcoin should be the currency of the United States. All right? 2, why would you need to stabilize a volatile currency? Maybe it's volatile for a reason, because it is inherently unstable. 3, there are too many people in Congress that can make a lot of money, aka Ted Cruz, if the Federal Reserve starts purchasing Bitcoin. Why? Ted Cruz owns miners. mining companies, digital mining companies. And he has invested in companies that are similar to like Coinbase. I'm not sure if he invested into Coinbase particularly, but into exchanges. So he's on the exchange side and the mining side. All right, and I think like use case companies too that he's invested in. So Ted Cruz can make a lot of money. Ted Cruz potentially could be a billionaire because of his investments in Bitcoin. Now, why a fucking senator should turn into a billionaire? So no, I don't think that the Federal Reserve should help Ted Cruz become a billionaire. All right, so why would the Federal Reserve? Why is there this question that came out? Well, you have individuals that are pro Bitcoin, right? Which I'm not. But you know, you have individuals out there that are pro Bitcoin that are trying to find ways to bolster it up to get it to 1 million to $1. It's at 100. It's below 100,000 now, but it was like 106,000, 107,000 before the Fed decided to lower the rate. But it'll climb back up. All right. So there's two ways to play Bitcoin. Well, really three ways. One way is to mine. Costs a lot of it takes a lot of money and energy to do that. To mine a coin now. So, you know, you need some infrastructure, some money behind you. Another way is to just trade it. Trade on the spot market. Still, you need a lot of money to do that because it's $100,000 to a dollar. $100,000 to a coin. So most people can't do that. So you'd have to have a lot of leverage to do that. All right. So most people can't buy on the spot market. Then there is the ETFs that just came out, where institutional investors are starting to put in funds into this. You also have retail investors flowing into these ETFs and playing the volatility of Bitcoin. All right. Then there are use case companies trying to use it as some sort of business model. All right. Now, you have senators and representatives in Congress that are writing bills, and even Trump's administration is pro Bitcoin, low regulation or proper regulation, while the Biden administration seemed to be anti-Bitcoin, all right, and very regulatory. So with the Trump administration coming in, they're probably going to have low restriction, low regulation, and a more push for trading as a virtual commodity. So the way I look at Bitcoin is a volatile virtual asset that's similar to a precious metal. But the thing is, it's fake. Don't pretend that it's real. It's fake. And it can break. The thing is that very powerful people in Congress are pushing for this. So because there's very powerful people pushing for it, it's probably going to be an established virtual asset. All right. So there's this, perception of supply and demand. Even if the perception of the supply and demand can generate the behavior of markets to go up and down, even if the supply and the demand isn't real, it's just the perception is real. That perception. But the reality could be something totally different. Doesn't matter. Because the way the markets work, it's about behavioral finance. It's all about perception. And the perception is that the government is pushing it forward. Now, the question is, will the Federal Reserve someday start buying it and putting it on its balance sheet? I don't know. Maybe this is the mechanism where it starts going digital currency, where it's tied. Digital currency is no longer fiat. Dollar. I'm working this through as I'm talking here. Right now we have a fiat currency. We used to be tied to the gold standard. Well, we could go back to the gold standard, but the Federal Reserve probably doesn't want to. What if the digital dollar is backed by not gold, not fiat, but backed by Bitcoin? Now, if that's the case, you still issue digital dollars, people still transact in digital dollars, but the value of the dollar is backed by the value of backed by the value of Bitcoin. The problem is that if you have a monetary base that's unstable, then that means your currency will be unstable. So it's better to be at fiat unless they can stabilize Bitcoin. Now, if they stabilize Bitcoin by doing market operations, right, and to keep it in a range and not let it free float, it's possible that actually the monetary base is backed by Bitcoin. You don't transact in Bitcoin. The monetary base is potentially in the future backed by Bitcoin. Now, this is a new thought that I have in my mind that is evolving, all right? But there are some potential problems with that. The United States is definitely going digital currency, and most likely will start its digital currency as fiat, because the regular currency is fiat. So there is there is institutional inertia to stay fiat and not have it backed by anything. The market's closed now, and the S&P 500 ended at 5,867. So with that, who knows? Will the Federal Reserve start getting in? They can't buy Bitcoin because they're not allowed. They are prohibited. There's a prohibition in the Federal Reserve Act that states what sorts of assets they can purchase. Bitcoin ain't one of them, right? So but if there's some sort of economic emergency that takes place, maybe it sets in motion that they add that to the list, because there was talk about, does the Federal Reserve get into equity buying and all this stuff during the Lehman crisis and all this. So some sort of TARP plus kind of operations that the Federal Reserve would do. Who knows? I think there would have to be a financial crisis for that to really set that in motion. But back to just regular market operations or regular trading operations in the market for Bitcoin. The Federal Reserve is not going to intervene. They can't intervene. They're not allowed to. And that there's going to be lots of volatility. Like, for example, Bitcoin dropped almost 7,000 with the announcement by the Federal Reserve. Just by what the Federal Reserve decides to do, it dropped. And it's, still trading, below. Will it mean revert? Most likely. There's inertia to it, right? There's an upward inertia to it. Now, what does the normal person do? The normal person can't buy in the spot market. The normal person can't be a miner. They can maybe invest in a mining company, but you're only buying shares. That's one way to do it. Another way is to invest in the ETF. But you got to be careful because it's very volatile. It's not like investing in the S&P 500. The S&P 500 will go up and down, but a 5-year, 10-year trajectory most likely is upward. That's not the case for Bitcoin. You could have some wild swings. So you have to be risk-taking. That's the thing about it. So, but what is interesting is the positioning of Ted Cruz in Bitcoin. And when you have powerful people in the Senate, in Congress, that are promoting Bitcoin, and you have a new administration, like the Trump administration, coming in, promoting Bitcoin and reducing regulation, that seems to be very bullish for the commodity. But it's fake. It's fake. Anyone says that Bitcoin's real, they're not being honest. It's fake. It's a bunch of digits being created because it solved a problem. That is not the same as going into the ground and digging up gold. Gold you can point to. Gold will still be around when the lights go out. Bitcoin will not be around when the lights go out. Which one's more real? Which one's more anti-fragile? Obviously gold, right? Obviously a metal. It doesn't have to be just gold. Copper, something tangible. Bitcoin isn't tangible, but there's a lot of powerful people pushing it. So just ride that momentum of the powerful people. When I heard that Ted Cruz invested so much into Bitcoin, something big is happening in Congress. All right. So that's my take on it. And I will continue on the dashboard to follow what's going on. BITO, which is the ETF that I've been looking at, is at 27.72 right now. Please help support my work. All right, I'm giving you some great advice. Right, if you follow my lead, I'm actually telling you how to make money. So help support my work by getting the products, following my protocol. I want you to boost up your immune system. I want you to get healthier. I don't want you to have a heart attack. I don't want you to have dementia. I don't want you to be ill. I want you to be as healthy as you can be. All right? And I'm giving you a way to do it. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and follow my lead. It's stuff that I take regularly. Like I said, probiotics are really important. This one is the veggie cap version that I have. I also have a powdered version. A good gut biome is going to improve mental acuity, your memory, your mood, your metabolism, improve your skin, and lower inflammation. Probiotics are really important. Gut health is a cornerstone of overall health. So please go to my store and get the probiotic. Omega-3, very important to take every day. Why? Because it helps with your cardiovascular health. It brings down LDL levels and increases your HDL levels. It gives you a healthy total cholesterol. Really important. Americans have heart disease because of their diet, because of their lifestyle, and you can stop that from happening. My brother died from heart disease at age 36. You know why? Because he ate too many Big Macs. So I don't want you to fall into the same trap like so many Americans. Have you actually seen someone actually have a heart attack and how their life just passes in front of them and how they're just praying that they'll survive? You don't want to go down that road. Trust me. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the omega-3. And lastly, we have stuff being sprayed in the air. We have toxins in our food supply. It's important to detoxify your body. Zeolite is a great way to detoxify your body. It removes heavy metals, toxins, and chemicals. How it works is it's a negatively charged molecule. You take a couple drops underneath your tongue, drink filtered water, and the negatively charged molecule will attach to positively charged toxins, chemicals, heavy metals, and it'll allow you to urinate that out in 6 to 8 hours. So you're slowly detoxifying your body. That means you're getting rid of those forever chemicals. That means you're getting rid of those toxins that are in the food and the water that we ingest. The pesticides that are being sprayed on the lawns and sprayed in your municipality. You don't want that. It's bad for your endocrine system. It's bad for your immune system. It's important to detoxify your body. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the zeolite. So that's my broadcast. I gave a little bit of understanding of my take on the Federal Reserve rate cut and some potential things that are emerging with Bitcoin and Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz. So please go to my store, help support your health, help support my work. Thank you for listening, and please, the year is ending. You can improve your health. All you gotta do is just start. If you haven't started, don't be afraid to start. Start a little slow, but get that momentum to improve your health. Filter your water, eat better foods, exercise, train your mind, stop being lazy, be more productive. And you're going to notice that living healthy is a much better way than going down the road of heart disease and other problems like diabetes and atrophy and accelerated aging. So thank you for listening and have a nice day.